Right. Greetings to you all once again. Welcome back to our discussion on cybersecurity, and our focus is on certified ethical hacking. So I'm going to be sharing my screen so as to enable us proceed further in this subject or this discussion. Okay. This is my slide, Introduction to Ethical Hacking. That is where we are. So the first question, which is the question before us, is what is ethical hacking? All right. An ethical hacker is a person who is hired and permitted by an organization to attack its systems for the purpose of identifying, number one, vulnerabilities which an attacker might take advantage of. All right. Now, let's begin to explain. First of all, an ethical hacker is not someone with the knowledge of hacking. Please take note of that. I like breaking things down. So there are certain things you are going to be hearing in the course of this discussion. Some of you that have been following my teachings, or some of you that have been following my classes, you may not have heard it before, right? An ethical hacker is not someone with the knowledge of hacking. So that you have the knowledge of hacking will not make you an ethical hacker. I'm going to say it again. An ethical hacker is not someone with the knowledge of hacking. So that you've learned how to hack, it doesn't certify, it doesn't make you an ethical hacker. So the main question should now be, what now makes me an ethical hacker? What makes you an ethical hacker is, number one, that you are, okay, let me also even say this, that you even have certifications. Maybe you've written exams with some recognized ethical hacking agency, like what we call the EC Council and Co. And you have gotten a lot of certifications from them. It does not still make you an ethical hacker, because someone can still get certification from them. Someone can still write the same exam. Someone can still get all the knowledge and still be bad and still not be an ethical hacker. So what actually makes you an ethical hacker? I believe this sounds new to some of us. What actually makes you an ethical hacker is, one, is that you are hired, you are permitted by an organization. So the sole difference between the terms hacking and ethical hacking is just a word, permission. Just a word, permission. That you are given the permission is what makes you an ethical hacker. For example, if you happens to get a job with a firm, I don't want to call the name of any firm because this is going online and a lot of people are going to be watching it. So let's say you got a job with XY10 firm, all right? And XY10 firm gives you the permission to attack their system for the purpose of identifying vulnerabilities. The moment the permission is given to you, you automatically becomes an ethical hacker at that point. The moment the permission is withdrawn from you, you are no longer an ethical hacker. So what makes you an ethical hacker is not just that you have this certification. This certification is important because it enables you to secure opportunities that will now give you permission in order to or work or execute your knowledge. And now we can now say you are an ethical hacker. Please, is this understood? If this is understood, just drop 555 on the chat box. So let's proceed with our discussion. And there are types of hackers who have what we call the white hat hacker. So you see, we'll have what we call the black hat hacker. We have what we call the suicide hackers. We have, sorry, the gray hat hackers. We have what we call the elite hacker. We have the activist hacker. We have what we call the suicide hacker. We also have what we call the script kiddie. Now, if you take a look at all this, you will never see where uh, you never see there's something that you won't see here, and that is under the types of hacker. You will never see something like ethical hacker. Are you seeing that? I don't know if you saw that. All right, but you saw types of hacker. So let's begin to go into our discussion. What the white hat hacker? Okay, well, who is a white hat hacker? These are the kind of hackers that are often referred to as a security professional or security researcher. They are referred as security professional. They are referred as security researchers, all right? So such hackers are employed by an organization and permitted to attack an organization to find vulnerabilities that an attacker may be able to exploit. So you see, a white hat hacker, number one, is someone who knows his job, is someone who is professional, is someone who has the certifications, right? So this is to tell us that certifications are very important in this field. But not just that, they must be employed, all right, okay, by an organization. So when an organization is looking for who to employ, because it is the employment that gives you permission, and it's the permission that qualifies you to be an ethical hacker. So when they are looking for who to employ, first of all, they look at the category of what we call the white hat hackers. From that category, they now pick who, based on their certifications, based on their qualification, and professionalism, referral, or thereabout, they can now pick and say, okay, you may know what guy work with us, or men, you work with us in this field. And the moment they employ you, you are given the permission. Emphasis on that. So the moment that organization gives you the permission, you now become an ethical hacker. So it is possible for you to be a white hat hacker and not be an ethical hacker. Are we cool? Are we cool? Are we cool? So because you can be a white hat hacker, you are professional, you are good, but if you are not employed, if you are not given the permission, you will be an ethical hacker. So having said that, let's proceed. So what of black hat hackers? What we call the black hat hackers? Black hat hackers are also known as cracker. All right, this kind of hacker is referred to as a bad guy. They are the bad guys. They have the evil motives. They have evil motives. They have bad intentions. They are who we call, basically, if you're from Nigeria, there are people who call the Yahoo boys. They are who we call, what we call the Yahoo boys in Nigeria. They are scammers. Okay. Or you see here, they are bad guys. They call them as well the crackers, right? So they use their knowledge for negative purposes. They don't use their knowledge for good purpose. They use it only for negative purposes. So the difference between a white hat hacker and a black hat hacker is purpose. Is running down. Black hat hacker uses his hacker uses his own knowledge for positive or good purpose. So this is just the major difference between both. All right. There is that. This is just a major difference. And so this also means that what a white hacker knows, yeah, the differential experience that differentiates the black hat of them is purpose. And of a white hat hacker is for good. The motive of a black hat hacker is for bad. Now, if you are still here with me, just drop WHH. Just drop WHH. All right. So let's look at the gray hat hacker. The gray hat hacker. The gray hat hacker. Right. That we call the intermediate between a white hat and a black hat. They are they are not code. They are an organization or a hello, can you still hear me? Sorry for that network. Okay, let me get back to where I. So the hacker, they are intermediate between a white hacker and a black hat hacker. For instance, a gray hat hacker will work as a security professional for an organization and responsible for disclosure of things in that organization, right? However, he or she might leave a back door to access it later and might also sell the confidential information obtained after the compromise of a company's target server to a competitor. What does that mean? It means that a gray hat hacker can be working with an organization, maybe SY10, which happens to be a Lego organization, and he's working for them as an ethical hacker. But because his intentions are neither good or bad, he always swears, he always shifts, he always changes his he always switches tent. All right. So while he's working for organization, because their intentions are not pure, what they do is that they leave an opening in that or leave a back door so that once in a while they can come in and access confidential information from that organization. And this is so critical and so important. All right. I want to say something from this place. And what do I want to say? When you are employed as an ethical hacker and you are given the permission by an organization, one of the things you need to do, because remember that before you came into the organization, someone was working there, always do what is called an overhaul, right? If possible, then always check out to see if there are back doors that are closed. One of the way to close those back doors is to do an overhaul of everything. I didn't say overhaul of some things. Overhaul of everything that we give anybody access. So, for example, a person might have opened a port, or he might have created backdoor, maybe, and he knows he can access it through a password or through the domain or server of the company. What you need to do is go through the domain of the server. Sometimes, even if you have to change domain entirely. Sorry, change the server entirely. If possible, do that. If you've worked in the banking system, you is responsible for the recruitment in a bank. The moment another organization takes over from them, one of the things they do is that they always change their softwares. I remember then I was working with a bank in Nigeria, and there is something they were using then called FlexCube. So when I left the organization, the company which was responsible for the HR company was later changed to another HR company. So when they came, did their recruitment and about the operations or there, but one of the things I noticed they did was that they also changed their operating platforms. So they are no longer using FlexCube right now because the people who use that system, created the system, used the system, they know the in and out of the system. You coming in, you should be wise enough to do what? To overhaul the system. These are part of the things you recommend to the organization as a professional, because the organization is so that you'll be able to help them to identify vulnerabilities. One of the ways to identify vulnerabilities, or one of the vulnerabilities you need to identify, is vulnerabilities that are left by the previous staff. So this is so important. This is so important because you never can tell that you are working, but there is a bad door which is open and you don't have access to close it, or you are not even aware of that. So you need not just to think as an ethical hacker, you also need to think like a criminal. If you follow me up to this 777 on the chat box, 777 on the chat box. We are stepping forward. 777 on the chat box. Call me. Let's keep it. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So let's quickly, who is an elite heart hacker? So an elite heart hacker also refers to what we call the L33T or L337. When you go to your LinkedIn, sometimes you see something like 33T or L337. And these are indications of who the person is, especially in the area of cybersecurity. So it's someone who has deep knowledge on how an exploit works. He or she is able to create exploits. All right. We are still going to go into what these exploits are. When I was talking to us about requirements, I made mention of something metasploitable. Right. So these are people who they don't just use exploits. All right. They have good knowledge of exploits that they can create their own exploits. All right. So, for example, everything that we are going to be using here is created by someone. So the people who created it are what we call the elite hackers. Okay. For example, someone can be working and he needs to be, I don't want to start calling the names of the things that we'll be using until we get there. Maybe he needs a keylogger. So instead of buying a keylogger or looking for who sells or where to buy, he himself designs the keylogger immediately by himself and start using it for what he intends to use it for. But you see, this set of people, they've gone beyond using applications. They are at the level that they create their own applications. All right. So they are able to create exploits, but also they can modify code that someone else wrote. Okay. So he or she is someone with elite skills of hacking. They don't just use applications. They don't just use codes or scripts. They have a good knowledge of how to write, modify their own scripts. And this is why I encourage everyone who is into cybersecurity to please learn Python. Is it possible to be a to be a certified ethical hacker without Python? Yes. Will you be limited? Yes. Because it will be within the confinement of what you do. But I'm going to say it again and I'm going to encourage you. Please learn Python. If you want to be a very sound ethical hacker up to this level of elite high hacker, you must have good at programming language. You must be good at programming language. I would have even recommended that you learn all the programming language, but at least one programming language that I know that is peculiar when it comes to cybersecurity, and also the number one, let me use that word, number one programming language because of its flexibility, accessibility is Python. So please, I will recommend that. Remember, I didn't say you should, I didn't say it's a must, but it's a recommendation. Okay. It's a recommendation. Okay, let's proceed. We now have what we call the hacktivists. The hacktivists. Hacktivists are defined as group of hackers that hack into computer systems for a cause or purpose. They don't just hack, they hack into systems for a cause. And sometimes the cause could be political gain, it could be freedom of speech, it could be for human rights. For example, if you are from Nigeria, there was something that happened in Nigeria some years ago that I think it was called what's it called again? NSAS movement. And there was something at that time, there were people they called the anonymous who were hacking some government platforms, government organizations. Their intention was to use their skills in order to aid the movement, right? They will hack communication network and systems for the purpose, not just for gain, no, for the purpose of what they are of the movement. All right. I know that there are also people who hack for political gain, some for freedom of speech, about it depends. All right. But these guys, they don't just hack into computer system for a cause or a purpose, they just hack into it because of maybe the political issue that is going on at that moment. For example, there's something that is happening right now in one of the African countries. Okay, you know, there might have been, and I'm very skeptical with the choice of words I'm using. There might have been an interplay, or there might have been a support that they also got from hacktivists, okay, in order for them to be able to achieve what they achieved. All right, let me stay on that. If you are looking for the African country, just if you're not in Africa, come to Africa. We'll show you the African country. Or if you're in Africa, it's around. If you don't know, please keep it at don't know. Let's proceed. We have what we call the suicide hackers. The suicide hackers are those who hack for some purpose and even don't bother to suffer death. They don't bother to suffer long-term jail due to their activities. Okay. Now, they can be good, they can be bad. That's one thing with suicide hackers. There are suicide hackers that are good. There are suicide hackers. There are suicide hackers that are bad as well. The same way you have suicide bombers, people who bomb just for a cause. The same way you have people who hack just for a cause. And suicide bombers often die in the process. Their life is not in consideration. So here, suicide hackers, they don't care whether they are caught. They don't care whether they go to jail. Their job is to make sure that they achieve that purpose of hacking. We now have what we call the script kiddie, or also called the script kiddie. We also call them the skid, SKID. Now, this kind of hacker is someone who lacks knowledge on how an exploit works, but he relies upon using exploits that someone else created. Okay. So someone creates the exploit, they just come use the exploit and continue their work. For example, all of us here that are in this class to a greater extent, you are a skid or a script kiddie, because everything you are going to be doing this stage is you are going to be doing it based on an exploit that somebody else has created. You will get to a level where you begin to create, you begin to build your own. So a script kiddie may be able to compromise a target, but certainly cannot debug or modify an exploit in case it does not work. This is where the issue is. Sometimes why they are using the exploit, maybe the exploit needs to be debugged. Sometimes they don't know the technicality. They don't know how to debug it. All right. That's one. Number two is sometimes the exploit need to be modified, but they don't know how to modify it because they don't have what they lack knowledge. They lack deep knowledge on how build or how an exploit works. All right. So if you are still with me here and this class is making sense to you, just drop 678. 678. Just drop 678 on the chat box. I want to be sure that you are not sleeping on me. So I know this is night time in Nigeria and some other country as well. 678. All right. Okay, I'm back to the chat box. I'm seeing something here. Mildred, you dropped a message. Is it only me or is coach? I don't understand that. Is
Sir,
that an
earlier,
issue?
sorry, sir, that's a mistake. Earlier,
Believe,
your network was
first of all,
cracking.
everyone, can you hear me loud and clear? If you can hear me loud and clear, just go ahead on the chat box and drop CEH. Just drop CEH on the chat box if you can hear me loud and you can hear me clearly. Just drop CEH. Just drop CEH on the chat box if you can hear me loud and clear. Can hear me loud and clear, please. All right. Right now we put forward, we push further, and we are going to be looking at what we call the phases of attack. I want to know the people who are off. One of the things we must learn, especially those of us that are in Nigeria, is if you are going to do well in IT, you must be a night caller. There's no two ways about it. Because sometimes the organization that you're going to be working for remotely, there's always time difference. It's not just Nigeria, everywhere. There's always time difference. And because of the time difference, you need to stay up to be able to meet up. All right. So I have 24 persons on this call at this time. So I don't know who is sleeping and who is up, but everyone just drop something on the chat box, anything you want to drop it on the chat box. I just want to be sure of those who are up. Okay. All right. Let's keep it coming. Only 2 persons, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 12. Where are all the guys here? See most of ladies. Okay, the guys, they just woke up right now. Okay, they just woke up right now. Yeah. Let's go, guys. Let's go, guys. Wide awake. Okay. So phases of attack. Phases of attack. Please, I know some of you have gone through this course, but go over it again. All right. Phases of attack. There are 5 phases of attack. Okay. And in these 5 phases of attack, I'm going to list them, but it does not necessarily mean that it must be in that order. It does not necessarily mean that the attack must be in that order. But oftentimes, from my experience, I'm speaking from my experience, I've noticed that the formats I use in listing the attacks, I've noticed that this is always the format that attacks take. Okay, it's always what I mean by format. I mean procedure. I mean from this phase to this phase. These are always the phases I've noticed from my own observation. All right, from my own observation, from experience, I've noticed that when an attack is to be carried out, it always take this. They always use this format. All right. And in using the format, I mean the process. I also mean the phases. All right. So let's look at the 5 phases. Okay. But before we do that, for you to successfully say that you've carried out hacking, for you to successfully say that you've hacked someone, or for you to successfully say that you've carried out a penetration test, you must go through these phases. Okay, you must go through these phases. All right. So let's proceed. We'll have number 1. We'll have the recognizance. Okay. Now remember what I said, that these 5 phases, they may not come serially, but from my observation, from my knowledge, I've noticed that they often come serially. I'm not saying that it must come serially, but what I'm saying is that from my observation, I've noticed that it often comes serially. But that does not mean that all attacks must follow that. So why am I saying this? So that you don't narrow your mind that for an attack to happen, it must follow this, and you are waiting for it to follow that procedure, not knowing that an attack has already started, but is following the reverse process or the in-between process. So we'll have what we'll call the reconnaissance. Okay. All right. You have what we'll call the reconnaissance. We'll have what we'll call the scanning. We'll have what we'll call the gaining access. We'll have the maintaining access. And we have the covering tracks. Anyone that will hack you, that will hack a system, or for someone to say, I've successfully hacked a system or penetrated a system, you must cover this. I didn't say some. You must cover the 5. So let's take note of that. So let's start going into. There are mainly 5 phases in hacking, not necessarily a hacker has to follow these 5 steps sequentially, in a sequential manner. Okay, I think I've said that. Let me just go straight to the reconnaissance. Okay, the first phase, reconnaissance. The fourth phase, reconnaissance in other words means information gathering. Okay, so it is a cybersecurity term, because as we proceed in our discussion, you will hear me using the term reconnaissance. Is a cybersecurity term that simply means information gathering. Okay. Information gathering. Okay. So this is the first step of hacking. Okay. So from the name information gathering, we should know what it means. It's all about gathering information, not just gathering information, but gathering valid information. It's possible for someone to be gathering information and the information the person is gathering is not valid. Because these whole things about hacking can also apply it in the real world. So let's say you want to rob a bank. I'm sorry for using the word rob. I know it's not a good word, but let's say you want to rob a bank. You just don't wake up and say you want to rob a bank, and tomorrow you carry your tools, your weapon or ammunition, and you go into robbing a bank. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to gather information on the target. You have to gather information on the target, valid information on the target. And I like that word. You have to gather valid information on the target. This is one of the reasons why I love watching CIA movies, intelligence movies, all right, because there is always a lot of information gathering, valid information gathering on the target. As a matter of fact, what makes you professional, what makes you, let me not use the word professional, what makes you good at what you do as in cybersecurity is your ability to recognize difference. I've said that before. What makes you or puts you or makes you relevant in IT, not even only in cybersecurity, is your ability to recognize difference. Ability to recognize difference. Let me say it again, ability to recognize difference. You won't have your uniqueness if you don't recognize difference. You will have something you bring on the table if you don't recognize difference. What is the difference between Amazon, and between what's it called again? Microsoft. In cloud computing, we know of the AWS, which is owned by Amazon. We know of what? Of the Google Cloud, which is owned by Google. We know of the Azure Cloud, which is owned by Microsoft. I hope you know that these three companies did not start the same day. One company started the other might be older than the other. But if you look at these three companies from the scope of difference, you will notice that three of them have different strengths in different areas. And it does not necessarily mean that the other company was in existence while the other one was already exercising their strength. The most important thing and what happens here is that one was able to identify difference. And in identifying that difference, he was able to, or they were able to build their strength based on the difference that they've been able to identify. So you must learn how to identify valid information, because in gathering of information, it is not all informations that are valid. Your ability to discover that these informations are valid and these ones are not valid is what makes you exceptional. If you're still here with me and this is Clark, just drop yes on the chat box. Just drop yes on the chat box. Just drop yes on the chat box. If this is clear, just drop yes on the chat box. So if you don't gather your information, the chances of you failing is 98%. So the same thing applies to machines. Cyber criminals, what are they doing? They want to breach and break the servers. They want to breach and break machines and thereabouts. So they have to first of all gather information on what they want to attack. Okay, so that is what reconnaissance is all about. Okay, so some of the informations they gather One, they gather information about the network. Right there, while they are gathering that information, they get your IP address, part of the network, or they gather information about the host. They have to understand the host better. What type of operating system is the host running on? What are the ports that are open on the host? What are the services that the host is rendering or running on? Another thing, if information they gather also is that they gather information on people who are involved. And this is where what we call social engineering comes into play. They have to gather information. They have to gather information about the system administrator, about the employees of that organization. So these are some of the information that are being gathered in the recognizance phase. So that is why we have a module on the recognizance, because that is going to teach you, is going to teach you a lot on the techniques that are used to gather information. All right. Okay. So let's proceed. Okay. So majorly we'll have two types of recognizance. We have the active and the passive recognizance. So what are their differences? All right. For active, this is when you are gathering information directly from the target. I'm going to say it again. When it comes to active recognizance, this is where you gather information directly from the target. Now, let me use this simple illustration. Let's say you are having an issue with someone, and you guys are neighbors, and you are having an issue with the person. Okay, or let's say at some point there are information you need to get from that person, that neighbor, that friend. But because you guys are having some gridlocks, you can't walk up to him and get such information. But now you know a friend or a neighbor that both of them are cool. So you can ask that friend or neighbor to go to the one you have issue with and get information, the information that you need to get from the person. All right. So in that case, you are gathering information passively. You are not attacking the target, but you are using a middleman or a third party to get to those information. So why active recognizance, you walk directly to the person you're having issue with, when you get the information that you need to get from the person. So this is the difference between active and passive recognizance. So when you are using the person who is close to your friend, the middleman, to gather information, the target does not know. It does not know that you are gathering information. All right. But when it comes to active, the target knows. Okay, you see it here. You see it here. So for active, when you are gathering information, they normally have, maybe you are gathering it from an organization, and their organization, they also have a cybersecurity team. Though the cybersecurity team they have over there, they will actually be seeing what you are doing. Why? Because you are attacking their network, you are attacking their host directly. But the only thing that they will be working on is to prevent you, is to prevent your attack from penetrating, right? So, but when it comes to passive recognizance, you are gathering information passively. They will have cybersecurity team there, but those cybersecurity team they will not know. Why? Because you are using a middleman. You are middleman. So let me use this as an example. For example, you are using Google to gather information. We are in the 21st century, and there is nothing you are looking out for that you won't find on the internet. Okay. So you might be gathering information of a particular company through Google. For example, let's say you want to attack, I also own a company, which is a business company. Let me just use it for example. Let me not use someone else's company. Let's say you want to attack our company, Gold Lane Dimensions Limited. All right. while you are gathering the information while you are gathering the information for Golden Dimension Limited, you are not attacking our server directly. You go to Google, so you are using Google to gather information. Okay, because Google is a search engine, so you can search on Golden Dimension Limited. You can go to our website, you gather information about our website. Can go to our website, go to our page, because from our page you can get information of our address. You can get the information on the type of business that we are into, and sometimes we post job adverts. You can get the job adverts that are into, because some job adverts carries a lot of information. All right, you are looking for a professional who can manage a server. Maybe it's an IT firm, and you can see it, maybe Google is advertising, or AWS is advertising, or Microsoft. They will now write on their advert, on their page, that they are looking for maybe someone who have managed a type of server. That is also an opening for someone who is conducting reconnaissance at that point to gather information. Because at that time, you've already seen, okay, they are looking for someone who will manage this kind of server. So that gives you an information on the type of server they use. They release the components they use for the server. If they are using Oracle database, they will release. Then maybe we are looking for someone who can manage Oracle database. By specifying they are looking for someone who can manage that Oracle database, have also opened up that company to information on the sites, or from their site, that the database that they use is Oracle database. All right. Okay. So does that make sense? So these are ways attackers gather information. So in that case, they are gathering information passively. They now know you are using an Oracle database without attacking your server. But because they've used a passive means, which is through the website or through your page, through a search engine which they use, they will be able to know, okay, this company is actually using Oracle database. So instead of attacking your server directly, and in the course of attacking your server directly, they will now discover that you are using Oracle database. They will gather the information passively, and by so doing, they now know that you are using Oracle database. So when they want to launch an attack, they will launch an attack specifically with tools that they know that will penetrate Oracle database. I don't know why I'm feeling so cool about this class. It's I'm not talking about cybersecurity. If you are catching the same flow with me, you are catching the same flow with me, just drop something on the chat box. Just drop something on the chat box. For those of you who have heard me take this class the first time, the second time, the third time, I believe you're learning something new. I believe so. I believe if you are in that category, just drop yes on the chat box while you are dropping anything you want to drop. Just drop yes on the chat box if you are in that category. Yeah, learning something new, or you've heard me take this class before, you're learning something new, just drop yes on the chat box. Great, 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 great. Great, great. So let's proceed. Let's proceed. Okay, Stanley, this is your first time. Great. Okay. So these are the two types of information gathering. All right. The two types of information gathering. The next phase is scanning. The next phase is scanning. So once an attacker is done gathering information, you see, I said that somehow the phases, the way I listed it, or I listed them, tend to be more like the way it flows, because you don't scan when you've not gathered information. Okay. So once an attacker is done gathering information, the next thing an attacker does is that they start scanning. Okay. So what is scanning, and why do they scan? The essence of scanning is they are looking for, an attacker looks for vulnerabilities. So attacker carries out hot scanning, okay, Through the port scanning, an attacker identifies the ports that are open. Okay, what are ports? Ports are what, like network ports. The attacker carries vulnerability scanning as well. Vulnerability scanning enables the attacker to look for weaknesses. All right. It looks for weaknesses that can be exploited. All right. Because for every successful attack, there have to be a mistake. Please take note of that. For every successful attack, there have to be a mistake. There have to be a mistake either on the target or on the network or on the host or on the people managing the servers. So there must be a loophole. There must be a loophole. So vulnerability scanning helps to identify these loopholes. So once they are done with that, they'll now do what they call network mapping. All right. What is network mapping? Network mapping is finding the topology of the network. All right. They want to know the type of network you use. They want to know you are using a firewalls. They want to know if you are using a load balancer and all of those things. So they scan for all of those information in order to understand your network better. All right. So in most cases, when they are carrying out scanning, they do it actively. That is why the tools that you use in scanning are tools sometimes we call it, you have to configure proxies. Okay. So proxies allows you to achieve anonymity so that your identity will not be, your real identity will not be revealed online. All right. Okay. I believe I'm not speaking too much for big English. Please, I want to be sure of understanding, because the essence of teaching is for understanding. Okay. The essence of teaching is for understanding. This class is going to scan to, I think, to one, they're about either 12 or I think 12 or one, they're about 12:30. So please let's just follow the points. Maybe once I'm done with this, you take a 10-15 minutes break and we'll come back again. All right. So after the scanning, once an attacker is done gaining access, after the scanning is gaining access, all right. I think gaining access is the whole point why an attacker wants to hack. An attacker wants to hack in order to gain unauthorized access. So in the face of gaining access, you are already in. You've breached the security. You've broken their system or their network. You are in, all right? So, and in doing that, there are specific tools or methods that are used. So it's also part of a course that will be taken on its own, so that you get to know the type of tools, the type of method that are used in order to gain access. All right. So, so once an attacker gains access, that is when his or her intentions are begins to come alive. Okay. So once you gain access, there might be restrictions. So this is where the attacker have to escalate privileges. All right. So the essence of escalating privileges is for the attacker to have the right to do everything he wants to do on the system. So he increases the admin level so that he might further exploit the system. All right. Okay. So this is so important. So at this point, the attacker is in. Okay. And once it's in, the next phase is maintaining access. Next phase is maintaining access. Now, hacking is like the saying, opportunity comes but once. You know, a victim might fall fool for the first time, but the victim might not fall fool the second time. So if you have gained access by providing a link and the victim clicks on that link and you're able to gain access, the next thing attacker will start thinking on is that the victim might not be stupid the next time to click on that link, which is true. Okay, so since they have clicked on that link once, another thing, once the attacker, the victim clicks the link once, the next thing the attacker is thinking on is how to maintain and retain himself in that system. He's no longer thinking of trying to launch an attack again in order to gain access. No, what he's thinking of is maintaining access. Okay, so maintaining access is like having a spare key, or is like creating a backdoor. You know, when you create a backdoor and maybe you walked into, okay, let me use rodent for that. For example, maybe a rat. A rat enters your house through the back front door, or a snake enters your house through the front door. One of the things sometimes those the smart ones do is that they tend to create maybe opening somewhere that will be giving them access to outside, especially rats, especially rodents. They can go to maybe one of the door or back doors or nets and bore a hole that gives them access. So from the hole or through your pipe, they can actually leave your house and still go out. But in coming back, they will not follow the front door, which they use to gain access. They will follow the back door. So that is what maintaining access does. That is what the essence of creating backdoor, or attacker creates a backdoor, so that it can always be coming in and going at any time. It's like having a spare key of someone. You can just come in and go out at any time without the person opening the door for you. So once you've gained access, the next thing is to maintain access. Because one thing an attacker needs is time. Please write that down. There is no successful attacker or hacker who will not need time. The attacker might gain access but not execute immediately. They gain access and then they buy time, waiting for the right time to execute to execute. All right. So you see, but in order to have that time and always be in that system, an attacker will not always be trying to gain access. He gains access and he tries to maintain access in that system so that he can have the ample time he or she needs in order to execute what he wants to do. All right. So what an attacker is trying to achieve, accomplish, he might not get it the first time. So that is why attackers get access to systems, and they may be in that system for months before they will achieve whatever objective or intention they want to achieve. So maintaining access is you being in that system for as long as possible in order to achieve your objective. All right. So finally, we'll have covering tracks. No hacker wants to be get hacked after wants to be get no one hacker wants to be caught after an attack. Okay, so covering tracks simply means any footprint that will trace that attack back to you, it should be deleted, or anything that will reveal your identity should be deleted. So some of the things the hacker does is that it deletes the logs, or some of the things you need to do is to delete the logs. You disable antiviruses, or you destroy some of the applications you use, all right, or uninstall all applications you use on the target. So you just have to be sure that any track or evidence that will lead that attack back to you is being cleared. All right. So these are the 5 phases of an attack. So as a cybersecurity professional, you need to understand this. You need to understand how an attacker do all of this so that you will know. Why am I saying this? You cannot catch a criminal if you don't think like a criminal. All right. So you need to understand how the attacker works. So one of the way to identify this is one, reconnaissance. One of the ways to prevent this reconnaissance from happening is to warn the organization not to put some of their information online. I've worked for an organization that it was a strict warning that you should not put it on your social media, your LinkedIn, or anywhere that I'm working with them. There's an organization I'm even working with. Nobody knows the name of the organization. Nobody, you won't see it on my CV. You won't see it online. You won't see it on any of my this. You won't know the name, all right? Because the moment I put that I work with them, the moment I put maybe I work with a so company, attackers who wants to start attack that organization, they will start sending me links. They will send through chats, they will send through email. So knowing fully well that once I click on that email or that whatever the chats they send to me, it gives them access to my system. Or it could be what if the system I use to work is the same personal system I use. This is why some of them don't allow you use their system at home. You come to work, or even if you have to use it at home, they don't allow you to use any other thing on that system. Yeah, I have a laptop that I'm using. I don't do any other thing in that laptop. It's always at home, or if I'm going to the office, or there is nothing personal I do on that laptop. The only thing I do on that laptop is strictly work for that organization. Why? Because that is one of their requirements. That is one of their laws. It's one of their policies, because it's a way of preventing an attack from happening. Okay, so you will not see any trace that I work with them. You won't see even when I'm working with them. There is nothing at all. All right. So you see, these stages are stages that you need to master. You need to know them, because these are stages attackers we always use in order to attack. Oh, that's why we call it the 5 phases of attack. Wow, wow, wow. I don't know if you're flowing and following. Is it interesting? Is the class interesting? Is a class interesting? You know, I can go on and on like this for hours, for days, because I'm just enjoying the flow and I'm enjoying it. Please, is it interesting? Do you think you're wasting your time? Do you think this worth your time? Yeah, okay. All right. I know why I am breaking the classes and the flow. I know why. There are people who don't have the capacity to take on a long stretch of in a class, maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Some persons are not built like me, or like some of us here who go that long. So it's better we'll take it, break it. So we are going to be going for another break. This is 11:48. We are coming back by 12. So take a stretch, take water. Some of you that need to make coffee, go make coffee. Just stretch yourself. We are coming back by 12 to continue. Thank you so much. All right. See you. Bye.